Hello and welcome. My name's Paul, and this is Paul vs. the Paranormal. As usual, if you're listening, you know what you're listening to. This episode, joined once again by Rob.
Hello.
And today, I'm going to be telling Rob about the Rendlesham Forest incident, which took place in the 1980s.
I can't wait.
Yeah, the best decade ever. Cold War, MTV, the threat of nuclear war constantly.
So this week we've got Rendlesham Forest and its incident.
The Rendlesham Forest incident, yeah, that's correct. Now, we did mention it briefly.
Yes. So I think we discussed it before. Is this the UFO encounter one?
It is, yeah.
Right, yeah. With a military base?
That's correct, yes.
I remember. Yeah, let's go.
So, let's go. So, it was December 26th at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So, a security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights descending into the nearby Rendlesham Forest. The servicemen initially thought it was a downed aircraft. They'd witnessed a glowing object that was metallic in appearance with coloured lights. Pretty standard UFO description of a UFO, metallic with lights. So as they attempted to approach the object, it appeared to move through the trees, and the animals on a nearby farm went into a frenzy. These are air quoted, by the way. One of the servicemen, Sergeant Jim Peniston, later claimed to have encountered a craft of unknown origin while in the forest. So shortly after 4 a.m, local police were called to the scene, but reported that the only lights they could see were those from the Orford Ness Lighthouse, some miles away on the coast. After daybreak on the morning of the 26th of December, servicemen returning to a small clearing near the eastern edge of the forest found small impressions on the ground in a triangular pattern, as well as burn marks and broken branches on nearby trees. At 10:30, the local police were called out again, this time to see the impressions, which they thought could have just been made by an animal. So already the locals are like, you're crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing as well is somebody could have actually gone there and staged the scene.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know.
We'll get into the theories later on.
I'll reserve theorising until then.
So there's a bit of a time jump in and out of this article because I've sourced this from a couple of different places. So it sort of talks about the night and then the recollection of the night some years later. So in 1983, an article from something known as Omni says Colonel Ted Conrad, the base commander, recalls 5 Air Force policemen spotted lights from what they thought was a small plane descending into the forest. So 2 of the men tracked the object on foot and came upon a large tripod-mounted craft. It had no windows, but was studded with brilliant red and blue lights. Each time the men came within 50 yards of the ship, Conrad relates, it levitated 6 feet in the air and backed away. They followed it for almost an hour through the woods and across a field until it took off at a phenomenal speed. Acting on the reports made by his men, Colonel Conrad began a brief investigation of the incident in the morning. He went into the forest and located a triangular pattern made by the tripod legs. He did interview 2 of the eyewitnesses and concluded, "Those lads saw something," in an American accent, quote unquote. "Those lads saw something, but I don't know what it was." So he's pretty certain that those servicemen witnessed a physical object, not a light in the distance in this instance. So he's the base commander, so he's in charge of them all, and he pretty much says, yep, this is what they saw. Whether he's just relating that from their description or whether he actually feels that that's what they saw, who knows? He will. So Suffolk police were called to the scene on the night of the initial sighting and again the following morning, but found nothing unusual. On the night of the initial incident, they reported that the only lights visible were from the Orford Ness Lighthouse. They attributed the indentations on the ground to animals. The Suffolk Constabulary files on the case were released in 2005 under the UK's Freedom of Information Act and can be accessed on their website. It includes a letter dated 28th of July 1999, written by Inspector Mike Topless, who notes that one of the police constables who attended the scene on the first night returned to the site in daylight, in case he missed anything. Quote unquote, there was nothing to be seen, and he remains unconvinced that the occurrence was genuine. The immediate area was swept by powerful light beams from a landing beacon at RAF Bentwaters and the Orford Ness Lighthouse. I know of personal experience that at night, in certain weather conditions and cloud conditions, these beams are very pronounced and certainly cause strange visual effects. So police local to the area are absolutely certain it's just the lighthouse and the other nearby Army Air Force base at the time. So we then go to the 28th of December, 2 days later. The Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, visited the site with several servicemen in the early hours of the 28th of December 1980, but he reports it's the 29th. They took radiation readings in the triangle of depressions and in the surrounding area using an AN-PDR-27, a standard US military radiation survey meter, a Geiger counter.
Yeah.
To us non-military people, a Geiger counter. It does specify the readings, but I don't understand what the readings would mean. So they're recording a 0.07 milliroentgen per hour, and in other regions detected 0.03 to 0.04, which is around background levels. So some of the readings were slightly higher than background levels, which to me, as a non-radiation expert, means nothing really.
No, I have no clue what they're talking about.
No, absolutely. It could be good, it could be bad, I don't know. But they did specify, they did state that they detected similar bursts over half a mile away from the landing site. And Holt recorded these events on a micro cassette recorder, so he took his dictaphone with him, basically. Now we can actually have a listen to the recording. It is available on Wikipedia.
150 feet or more from the initial, I should say, suspected impact point. Having a lift going, we can't get the light all to work. Seems to be some kind of mechanical problem. Let's send it back, get another light. Meantime, we're going to take some readings with the Geiger counter and chase around the air a little bit, waiting for another light all to come back in. Okay, we're now approaching the area within about 25, 30 feet. What kind of readings are we getting? Anything? Just minor clicks. Minor clicks. Reading impressions. There's one. Is that all the bigger they are? Well, there's one more well defined. Security control. We're still getting clicks. Can we read that on the scale? Yes, sir. We're now on the 5/10 scale, and we're reading about third, fourth increment. Okay, we're still comfortably safe here. You don't have a light on? It's ready. Security. There's still minor readings. Second pod indentation. Security. This one's dead. Let's go to the third one over here.
If anybody wants to listen to the tape in full, I'll pop a link in the description to the Wikipedia article where it's located. So it was during this investigation that a flashing red light was seen across the field to the east, almost in line with a farmhouse, as the witnesses had seen on the first night. So later, according to Holt's memo, so he wrote a memo after doing this, 3 star-like lights were seen in the sky, 2 to the north and 1 to the south, about 10 degrees above the horizon. Holt said that the brightest of these hovered for 2 to 3 hours and seemed to beam down a stream of light from time to time. So I think a bit of background of where Rendlesham Forest is actually located might help give some idea of the surroundings in the area. So Rendlesham Forest it's owned by the Forestry Commission and consists of about 5.8 square miles of coniferous plantations, so trees I believe, interspersed with broadleaf belts heathland and wetlands. It is located in Suffolk, about 8 miles east of the town of Ipswich. So the incident occurs in the vicinity of two former military bases, RAF Brentwaters, which is just to the north of the forest, and RAF Woodbridge, which extends into the forest from the west and is bounded by the forest on its northern and eastern edges.
So to clarify, when you say former bases, there weren't former
There
bases.
weren't, but former bases at the
active.
time,
They were
active at the time, yeah. Yeah, they're no longer in use. And I think, I'll be honest, I think they're still there and they're just sat abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
As with a lot of these former military bases.
Yeah.
At the time, both were being used by the United States Air Force and were under the command of Wing Commander Colonel Gordon E. Williams. The base commander was Ted Conrad, and his deputy was Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt. The main events of the incident, including the supposed landing or landings, took place in the forest, which starts at the east end of the base runway and about 0.3 miles to the east of the east gate of RAF Woodbridge, from where the security guards first noticed mysterious lights appearing and descending into the forest. The forest extends east about 1 mile beyond East Gate, ending at a farmer's field at Chapel Green, where additional alleged events took place. Orfordness Lighthouse, which some sceptics have identified as the flashing light seen off to the coast by the airmen, is along the same line of sight about 5 miles further east of the forest's edge. At that time, it was one of the brightest lighthouses in the UK. So the first piece of primary evidence to be made available to the public was a memorandum written by the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, to the Ministry of Defence, known as the Holt Memo. This was made publicly available in the United States under the Freedom of Information Act 1983. The memorandum was dated 13th of January 1981 under the title Unexplained Lights. The 2-week delay between the incident and the report might account for errors in the date and time given. The memo was not classified in any way. Now, David Clark, a consultant for the National Archives, has investigated the background of this memo and the reaction to it at the MOD. His interviews with the personnel involved confirmed the cursory nature of the investigation made by the MOD and failed to find any evidence for any other reports on the incident made by the United States Air Force or by the UK, apart from the Holt Memo. So basically, it was never reported, it was never investigated at the time by anybody. It was just simply put in this memo. Holt has since gone on record as saying he believes that he witnessed an extraterrestrial event that was then covered up. So this is one of the top senior military people on the base.
Yeah.
He's adamant he's seen a UFO. The locals in the area are adamant that it's just lights in the distance, nothing to do with any any alien crafts.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing with these sorts of incidents. You get people putting the two penn'orth, and it's like, obviously, the guy was there, he's seen something. He will have his beliefs as to what he thinks he's seen, but nobody, in retrospect, can prove or disprove either way.
No.
Because there's no evidence.
Exactly,
There's
yeah.
nothing recorded, well, other than obviously recording, talking about the thing at the time. I mean, I could literally walk around Peel Park going, oh, yeah, look at these leaves. These have been charred on the edges by witches. And I literally could be walking, looking at a piece of paper, reading a script. You don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously, like I said, I don't personally know what Holt sounded like in the 80s. So whether that's his genuine voice or not on that recording, I don't know for certain.
Yeah, that's it.
I believe it is. I believe it is his recording that's been put on Wikipedia because it's no longer classified or was never classified. And it's in the public domain now. Yeah. Now, the events of Rendlesham have been investigated by Nick Pope. He's a media commentator and former civil servant.
Newcastle's goalkeeper.
Possibly. I don't know.
Different Nick Pope.
Different Nick Pope, yeah. So whilst he was an employee at the British government's Ministry of Defence, Pope was responsible, amongst other duties, for investigating UFO phenomena to determine if they had any defence significance. Now, Nick Pope I've seen on many a UFO documentary and programme about it. The guy knows his stuff.
Okay.
So a subsequent analysis of the landing site showed indentations on the ground forming the shape of a triangle, scorch marks on the side of trees and radiation levels which scientific staff at the UK Ministry of Defence assessed as being significantly higher than the average background. So that answers that for us.
So the indentations that the police put down to animals was irradiated?
Yeah, that area where they tested it was...
The area, not necessarily the indentation.
No, yeah, so the area around it had higher than the background level. So the UFO was briefly tracked on military radar. So if this was a lighthouse, how could it be tracked on radar? 2 nights later, the UFO returned and fired light beams at the deputy base commander. Okay. And a small team of men who had gone to investigate. It later fired light beams at a particular sensitive area of the Woodbridge base where they kept the nukes. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Fired light beams?
Fire light beams, yeah. When I read that, I thought,
we're not talking like laser beams.
Not laser beams, no.
These aliens having some sort of advanced technology.
Yeah, even though technically lasers are beams of light, these were not laser beams. He also goes on to say the US commander, General Gabriel, there's a few US commanders involved here.
Yeah.
He removed evidence and took this back to his base in Ramstein, Germany.
Right.
Yes, different Ramstein. It could be Ramstein, but I'm saying Ramstein.
Yeah, Ramstein.
So the UK investigations were inconclusive, but the UK government weren't happy with the removal of evidence without their knowledge. The poor sharing of information led to a poor investigation, essentially. So the UK government couldn't investigate properly because the Americans had took it.
Yeah.
And obviously, we look at the skeptical analysis. The Orford Nest Lighthouse is the main culprit, which is, like I said earlier, it's seen, it's one of the brightest lighthouses.
Yeah.
Well, it was the brightest lighthouse in Britain at the time.
But I take it that lighthouse itself, you wouldn't normally have the light aiming at land?
Well, it would rotate around, wouldn't it? So it would probably have light going in all directions.
Right. So I'll be honest, I've never really paid much attention when people were talking about lighthouses before. So I assume then it turns around so that it can illuminate land for any ships approaching as well, not just
I would imagine
out to sea.
That would be logical, yeah.
Right.
So
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you shine the light at the boat, you're probably going to blind the captain of the boat if you just continuously blind him, shine the light on him. So the Orford Nest Lighthouse, as seen from the southeast, so a white shield blocked the light from the town of Orford, but not from the forest where the sightings occurred. One proposed theory is that the incident was a hoax. The BBC reported that a former US security policeman, Kevin Cond, claimed responsibility for creating strange lights in the forest by driving around in a police vehicle whose lights he had modified.
Right.
However, there is no evidence that this prank took place on the nights in question, other than him admitting it.
Right.
And he must have heavily modified those lights to have them become a metallic silvery object that moved 50 feet away when people got close to it.
Yeah.
Other explanations for the incident have included a downed Soviet satellite, but no evidence of this has been produced to support it.
Yeah, but I mean, if it were a satellite, then would it have not crashed?
It would burn up in the atmosphere more than all else.
Yeah.
Even now, modern day satellites burn up in the atmosphere. So,
well, I mean, certain metals won't have.
Possibly, yeah. Some of it may have survived and
you'd
crashed,
expect.
but
Well, saying that, if they're saying that evidence were removed, then I suppose
absolutely,
landed.
Yeah. We don't know we don't know what the Americans took back with them. Could have been a chunk of Soviet satellite. The most widely accepted explanations is that the sightings were due to a combination of 3 main factors. The initial sighting at 3 on the 26th was the airmen saw something apparently descending into the forest, coincided with the appearance of a bright fireball over southern England, and such fireballs are a common source of UFO reports. The supposed landing marks were identified by police and foresters as rabbit diggings, but underwhelming.
Rabbit diggings?
Yeah.
In a triangle?
Digging,
depression shape?
Could have been 3 rabbits equally spaced apart, trying to avoid some sort of farmer who they took the radishes from.
Or that guy's modified car with his
Yeah, he has some rabbits attached to the back. No evidence has emerged to confirm that anything actually came down in the forest. The fireballs were reported to be breaking up of a Soviet satellite. So, yeah, the satellite breaking up. Now, according to the witness statements on the 26th, the flashing lights seen from the forest lay in the same direction of the Orford Ness Lighthouse, which the eyewitnesses attempted to approach the light. They realised it was further off than they thought. One of the witnesses, Ed Cabansag, described it as a beacon light off in the distance, while another, John Burrows, said it was a lighthouse. So he said it was a lighthouse. Mm. So I'm assuming these are servicemen that were with maybe Holt. Timings on the Holt's tape recording indicate that the sightings on the 28th indicated that the lights he saw, which lay in the same direction as the lights seen 2 nights earlier, flashed every 5 seconds, which was the flash rate of the Orford Ness Lighthouse. So it's looking more likely to be the lighthouse.
Yeah, the lighthouse is looking pretty guilty right now.
Yeah. So the star-like objects that Holt reported hovering low to the north and south are thought to have, by some skeptics, to have been misinterpretations of bright stars distorted by atmospheric and optical effects. Another common source of UFO reports. Now, I think somebody who's in charge of a base and a serviceman is trained to be more observant.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the 80s we're talking about. These guys could have been drinking, could have been out and about. They might not have been on active duty at the time. They could have been drinking.
Yeah. Now, if I remember rightly, Holt was in the middle of some sort of function or something at the time,
right,
when the airmen came to get him. Don't quote me on that. The brightest of these bright stars to the south matched the position of Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Mm-hmm. So, coincidentally, okay, it's again looking like misidentification again. There's also been reports this was a hoax carried out by the SAS, but no one has ever come forward to admit it. However, a US Air Force policeman called Kevin Conn claimed he played a prank on the airmen, and it was just him flashing lights from his 1979 Plymouth Valère. Do you believe a policeman? An army policeman? Yeah, I just flashed my lights. I was having a joke with him. Or do you believe professionals trained?
This is the thing.
You can't give that away.
Yeah, it's all, conjecture and whatnot.
Yeah.
They're just saying things, and I could literally say, I were there at the time. Well, obviously, physically impossible.
Yeah.
I was there at the time, and actually, I was just using a mirror to shine the light back at the base, and when they came, I picked up a cardboard box and moved 6 meters back and went,
Yep. I also have an answer for it. It was me. I travelled back in time from the year 2032, and I was just testing out my new torch.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say you're in DeLorean, and that's what kept lifting and moving backwards.
No, I can't afford DeLorean money.
No.
So was it just a case of mistaken identity, mistaking a lighthouse or stars, a practical joke, or were the airmen just making it up?
Yeah, I think probably being sensible, I'll probably say it was the lights from the lighthouse. A couple of airmen who wanted a day off probably played a trick on the guy who's been at a function and was slightly drunk and said, come and look at these lights in the forest. It's a great UFO thing, and he's just gone along with it.
Mm-hmm. Or was this all just covered up by the US and UK governments and their respected military?
Yes. I will go with that as a more sensible option. There really was a UFO and the government have covered it up.
Yeah. What's more likely is human error, mistook simple objects and made patterns from it, or that 2 governments in cahoots decided to cover up the existence of aliens. I know which one I'd like to think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Government.
Government cover up.
Logically, the rational side of me thinks it's possibly just a mistake.
It's probably just the lighthouse.
And the lighthouse,
combination of lighthouse and the other things.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem more likely that, but we'll never be certain.
I love the it was a practical joke by the SAS. I think it's hilarious. A bunch of British lads just messing with Americans.
Yeah, let's go back, take the mick at the Americans and have them report UFOs and nobody say anything for 40 odd years.
It'll be one of those where it's coming towards end of financial year and they haven't spent the budget yet, and if they don't spend it, they'll lose it, right? Yeah. So it's a case of, right, let's create an elaborate hoax that then results in us having to investigate this and needing money to investigate this.
To keep it going,
And then next year we'll get the same amount of money for miscellaneous alien-related project.
Yeah, I've just been checking the budgets, and we've only spent $30 on UFO research.
Yeah. And they'll take that off as if we don't spend more.
Yeah.
How much did they give us at start of the year when we asked for it? Oh, yeah, they give us $2 million. Right, come on, we're going to have to go mess with them Americans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whether this is aliens or Cold War tensions, did the US salvage parts of a downed satellite? Who knows? Probably. Maybe. I mean, to this day, though, Colonel Holt maintains that what he witnessed was an unidentified flying object, which doesn't necessarily mean alien. It means it just isn't identified, just doesn't know what it is. But ultimately, you and me will probably never know the truth.
No, we'll never know.
No.
No chance of knowing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe one day, aliens might turn up and go, remember Rendlesham? That was us.
Yeah.
My homeboy.
Yeah, we tried to scare you off with lights, and you kept walking towards us. You weren't ready for us at that
We were trying to park, and you just kept walking into our parking spot. Have you ever tried doing your shopping in the middle of the night in the 80s?
In the middle of the forest.
In the forest, we were trying to pick up rabbits.
Yeah, exactly.
We found these 3 perfectly well-dug rabbit diggings, and you just kept walking in the way. We just could not park. We just left. We came back 2 nights later, and you did the same thing again. And this is why we've not been back for 44 years.
We thought we'd give you some time to cool down.
Wouldn't you learn respect for personal space? We'll be back.
Yeah, and stop crying.
Yeah, live long and prosper. So, yeah, that is Rendlesham Forest. I think we covered everything. I was going through the notes, trying to scroll on this laptop. It's not the easiest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, over 2 nights, different people witnessed similar things.
2, potentially 3 nights, because they were talking one on 26th and one on 28th or 29th.
Yeah. 28th, 29th, yeah, roughly.
So I'm assuming it's the 28th to the 29th a.m.
Yes, this is the map of the area. So you'll
so
notice,
is this actually up north? No, you said it were down south.
It's near the North Sea.
North Sea just confused me then. I thought North Sea were up. Yeah, ignore me.
North Sea's down here. Yeah, so this is the forest. You've got Woodbridge, RAF Woodbridge there, RAF Brentwaters there. Oh no, that's Woodbridge. That must be the town. There's the RAF. So there's a town between.
So this is way out to the east, isn't it?
Yeah, way out on the east coast. So Orford Nest Lighthouse is here, so it will shine a light. I mean, that's a long, big distance for the light to reach.
How many miles did you say it was?
About 5, I think.
About 5 miles.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, don't quote me.
I mean, to think if you look across the skyline at one at bedroom windows, you can see.
Yeah.
Quite a distance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you'll also notice at the top, Sizewell nuclear plant. UFOs have been quite regularly spotted near nuclear power plants. Even Fukushima in Japan. There's reports of UFOs being witnessed, or UAPs as they're now known, over Fukushima nuclear plant.
I like that you can actually say that. If I was trying to say it, I'd be like...
Yeah, Fukushima. Yeah, that's the one that had the meltdown after the tsunami.
Yeah.
A few years back. There is a pretty interesting episode of Expedition X where Phil and Jess go to try look for the UFOs, and they have to get permission to enter the area due to the radiation.
Right. Okay.
They have to wear a Geiger counter while they go around.
Hazmat suits.
No, they didn't have the hazmat suits on, but
really?
If the Geiger count went off, they had to get out as fast as they could.
Yeah.
So there are a few parts where it goes off and Phil has to do a runner.
Right.
So
yeah, you won't catch me going in there.
No, absolutely.
I don't want to sprout a 4th testicle.
No. So I would imagine both those bases probably had nuclear armaments.
Yeah, you'd expect. Well, the thing is, with the US, they'll have like missile silos and missile bases dotted all over the place.
Yeah,
so,
they have 2 very close to each other. So that just shows how many they must have had over here during the Cold War.
Yeah, you'd expect there to be at least maybe one of them having nuclear capabilities, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, at least, I would imagine I would probably guess Woodbridge would. Or both. It may not be on record. I don't know if it's on record.
No, probably.
It might be on record that they did. But there are interviews with Colonel Holt on some TV shows. Yeah, Expedition Unknown. Josh does a special, it's a 4-parter, where he goes in search of UFOs. And he does go to Woodbridge and he interviews Colonel Holt.
Right.
It's interesting if you ever get the chance to watch
So Holt actually comes back to the base?
Yeah.
And they walk around it together.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he even gets Offerness Lighthouse up and running.
Mm.
Tests the light. And I think he has somebody at the base or in the forest seeing if they could see it. Yeah, and that is Rendlesham Forest. I think we've covered all the theories and our opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I reserve judgment on it because it's just difficult. Like I said, in retrospect, the things that sound sensible are the lighthouse, the weather conditions affecting the view of the lights, and the potential for a downed satellite. Or it could have even been a downed aircraft that they've then covered up because they don't want to start.
I mean, I think the fireballs were reported.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like, so that there's no dispute that there was something going on that night.
Yeah.
This also took place the same year as Todmorden.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, right, you think about it, 2 incidents in a couple of days in the same area.
Yeah.
Let's say that there was something from another nation. I won't say Russian because it could be any country.
Yeah.
Obviously, during the Cold War, that would make sense. But let's say another nation's asset has been downed near this US base.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of days later, they come looking for it. That could explain the second visit in short space of time.
A small group of operatives looking for it. One thing that just occurred to me was this occurred over 2 nights. Mm-hmm. Why didn't it not occur any other time?
Yeah.
If it was the lighthouse and atmospheric conditions making Sirius look weird, why was it only those 2 nights? Why didn't it happen every year at the same time? Why was it not every few nights?
Mm-hmm.
Did they realise that after witnessing it? Actually, it's not. Let's not report it again.
Is that the first time that noticed it, made a massive to-do about it, and then realised,
no, it's just the lighthouse.
Yeah, it's actually just
Forget
the
about
lighthouse.
it. If it was just the lighthouse, they would have seen it many times before.
You'd expect so.
Because that base didn't just open up on the 25th of December, 1980.
No, exactly.
It had been there prior to that. I would imagine it's probably been there since World War II. More, who knows?
What if they changed the light bulb in the lighthouse?
Yeah.
And used a stronger one?
Yeah.
And it meant that it wasn't reaching before, but then all of a sudden it was?
It was that night, but then didn't reach after.
And then when somebody realised, oops,
we've
accidentally pranked these lads here, let's change it.
Well, let's change it back. It's a bit too bright. We get too many ship's captains being blinded by it. So it's a tough one. We'll never know. But it's an interesting story none the least. There are plenty of documentaries out there about it.
Quite a thought provoker, isn't it?
Yeah. So as always, I have been and will continue to be Paul.
I'm still considering whether to be Rob.
So we'll catch you all on the next one.
Bye-bye.